If we as black people don't wake up and get our act together, anybody from any part of the world will just walk into our countries and take the best out of us at almost no cost. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is about the sad facts of the agreement terms between the DRC and the USA over the DRC's minerals. I promise you one thing. By the time you watch this video in full, your heart will be broken for Mother Africa. I will not waste your time at all. Let's get into it. The United States and the DRC on March 20th, 2025 signed a minerals agreement. In that agreement, the two countries agreed to trade two things, which I'll get into in a minute. But in order for that pact to be executed, the United States brought in the government of Rwanda to the table. So on the 25th of April 2025, the USA, DRC, and Rwanda governments mutually signed an agreement called a Declaration of Principles of Peace that will see the United States ensure the peace and stability of Eastern Congo with the assistance of both the Rwandan and the DRC governments. Ladies and gentlemen, however, the very first minerals agreement signed in March this year was only between the USA and the DRC. In that agreement, the United States government will provide peace and protection for the DRC on one hand, and in return, the DRC government will grant America access to mining what they term as critical minerals in the DRC. Now, these are the minerals the United States government term or call critical minerals. It is cobalt, copper, lithium, and uranium. So I repeat, the US government in a minerals agreement with the DRC is exchanging protection for mining cobalt, copper, lithium, and uranium in the Congo. The primary reason the US government is desperately interested in this agreement is because the DRC produces 74% of the world's cobalt, 6% of the world's lithium, and 10% of the world's copper. And these are the basic raw materials used in producing rechargeable batteries, electric vehicles, mobile phones and laptops, digital cameras, electrical wirings and equipment. Ladies and gentlemen, the value of the global cobalt market is estimated at $16.96 billion and projected to hit $25 billion by 2023. The value of the global lithium market is also estimated at $44 billion and projected to hit $164 billion by 2023. Similarly, the value of the global copper market is approximated at $291 billion and projected to reach $422 billion by 2033. In addition to all this information, ladies and gentlemen, America couldn't wait to sign this deal because China is massively present in the DRC. When you go to the South Kivu province of the DRC, there are over 450 mining companies operational, many of which are operated by Chinese nationals. Chinese companies hold massive stakes in 15 of the largest copper and cobalt mines in the DRC. Chinese companies such as CMOC Group, China Non-Ferrous Metal Mining Group, China Railway Group, and Z-Lane Mining are operational in the DRC. In fact, as it stands now, China controls 80% of all DRC's cobalt refining. And now, ladies and gentlemen, America has officially joined in on an exclusive level, and I'll tell you that in a minute. In spite of all these, the DRC still has vast deposits of all these minerals in different parts of the country untapped. That is why the developed world prefers an unstable DRC for their minerals benefit. Again, in this new minerals agreement, the DRC is allowing America an exclusive right to extract and export these critical minerals, which also includes tantalum in their raw state to America, in their raw state. The Democratic Republic of Congo, a country with over 112 million people and a poverty ratio of 73%, sitting on an estimated 24 trillion in untapped natural resources, is begging the United States for help. This is the definition of madness. A country where only 1.8% of the existing roads are tarred and less than 10% of the population has access to electricity, and more than 8 million people have died due to tribal conflicts since 1994, is still wallowing in confusion. This is the definition of madness. You want to tell me between the DRC and Rwanda, they couldn't have resolved these militia attacks and mine their resources to their own benefits, ladies and gentlemen? You want me to believe AU couldn't have stepped in and resolved the instability on the border between the two countries, but just watch on as foreigners are milking our neighbors, ladies and gentlemen? This is what I define as madness. A country which records between 27,000 to 50,000 of annual deaths caused by malaria to children under 5. And you want us to believe that more international or multinational corporations will bring the solutions to their problems? Ladies and gentlemen, I feel pain in my heart seeing that the people we elect as president for our countries do not have solutions to any of our problems, because clearly the president of the DRC is clueless as to what to do to steer the nation forward. This is why they keep running to the West for help, a country that is in dire need of jobs. Why do you export all these jobs to America? Is this not madness, ladies and gentlemen? 85% of Congolese work in informal jobs. I'm talking about street vending, artisanal mining, subsistence farming. These jobs form the largest portion of their internal economy. 80% of working people are underemployed in the DRC. 20 to 25% of the youth are unemployed. How does such a country like this sign a deal like that? For a country that desperately needs development and yet be giving out their resources to America and the rest of the world like this is the definition of madness. All the major countries in the world are feasting on the DRC as I speak to you right now. Check out this list. China, USA, Russia, Switzerland, Canada, UAE, France, Australia, and Belgium all have their multinational companies mining in the DRC right now. Yet the people of the country are as poor as church mouse with a per capita income of only $714. Ladies and gentlemen, the DRC as a country is a crime scene. Africa needs to rescue the DRC, and Africa needs to do it immediately, because the leadership of the DRC is non-existent and non-functional at best. They have no solutions apart from selling their resources to foreign elements. The DRC is a failed state and needs rescuing. Just imagine what Captain Traore will do with the DRC if he took over, looking at how well he's doing in Burkina Faso. This is why I'm bold to say that the DRC is not a war problem. It's purely a leadership crisis and therefore needs saving. As a matter of urgency, Africa needs a leader. Africa needs a savior, because in the next 10 to 20 years, these multinational mining companies in the DRC right now are going to eat up as much minerals as possible until something similar to what happened in the Burkina Faso and the Sahel regions happens in the DRC, ladies and gentlemen. Without a ruthless and determined leadership, nothing will change in the Congo. Who is going to stand up for the people of the DRC like Traore is doing for Burkina Faso? Where is their salvation going to come from? Because this idea of giving out resources to Westerners has never proven to help develop any African country. Never before. The West ran a capitalist system. It's all about maximizing profit at the barest cost. So when you leave the West to do what they do in your country, they will take what they will take and leave you where they found you. What kind of people have we become for allowing ourselves to be easily infiltrated and conflicts stirred up among us so the foreigners can take our resources for ransom? What generation is this? How much is this deal going to benefit the DRC people in the long run? Or in other words, how much has the deals with all these multinational companies from all the countries I mentioned earlier benefited the DRC so far? How much? The DRC is rather getting worse by the day. Somebody needs to step up in the DRC and lead, or else that country will forever be conflicted. God help us all, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for choosing to watch today's video. Do me one favor and click on the subscription button and the like button as well. And also don't forget to click on the notification bell to see all of my videos. I'll come your way with another one. God help Africa. And it's bye-bye for now.